Listen to these names: Rowan Atkinson, Jonathan Pryce, Alec Guinness, Ben Kingsley, Barry Humphries, a.k.a. Dame Edna, Neil Morrissey, George C. Scott, Richard Dreyfuss, Jonathan Roxmouth, all people who, well, in Jonathan's case, are about to, but everybody else has played Fagin in either film, television series, or stage musical adaptation of Charles Dickens's wonderful novel. We have a production coming our way at the end of the year, starting at Artscape on the 11th of December. Lionel Bart's Oliver, and Jonathan Roxmouth has been cast as Fagin. Hello, Jonathan.
How are you, John?
I'm in decent health, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you. I have to say, you forgot one most important one, Ron Moody.
Yeah, who was the first? I know, but I didn't.
Man.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I didn't think that many. I didn't think he would have the same name recognition as the others. Why? Sorry, Ron, I left you out.
This has been so funny to me because the amount of people that when it was announced, they said, "Oh, I loved Ron Moody in the film," and these are people who are not in. He made such an impact with that role, and I think that's the case with Fagin in particular. You know, everybody remembers that man dancing around the screen in the green coat, with all, with pick a pocket or two and all that. He was the guy.
And now you're going to be the guy. And look, it's one of those things, Jonathan, where you go, wow, I've got an opportunity to do one of the great musical roles, and I look forward to putting my own stamp on it to make it a Jonathan Roxmouth Fagin. But at the same time, you can't help but think of all the greats who've gone before you and maybe have a butterfly or two about that.
Oh, certainly. But, for me, it goes a bit further than that. I was away from South Africa in terms of musicals for about 7 years. And when I started out, that's all I did. And then I came back and I did Chicago last year. And people were like, oh, you're quite good in musicals. Like, it was completely forgotten. But I haven't worked with Peter Turine since Evita in 2017. So 9 years later, I'm finally doing a musical under the Peter Turine banner. And it's a big old humdinger of a classic over Christmas time. And Oliver everybody remembers that movie, on M-Net Open Time. It was the feature many, many years in a row. And I finally, a lot of things come together for me on this one. So it's a very, very personal one.
I know the book very well, and I know that Fagin's age is never given. He's described as an old man, and we are talking about sort of mid-19th century when people didn't live terribly long. But Jonathan Roxmouth is far from old. So.
Well, I hesitate to remind everybody I'm 40 next year. So I'm not the 20-something that I was when I started out. But what is interesting is Ron Moody himself was 37 when he played it the first time. He just happened to be an actor who dressed up in makeup, which is what we do, isn't it? And that's the really fun part of this. Clive Revill, when he did it, was 38. So technically, I'm a little older than the guys who did it originally.
Well, they're going to give you a walker, Jonathan.
Well, we'll see. If we can pick one off one of the audience members at a matinee, I'll keep it. But what's interesting for me is instantly people go, no, but why aren't you Bill Sikes? Because they think of Oliver Reed in the film. And just because one can grow sideburns does not a Bill Sikes make. And what's really lovely about this production is Cameron McIntosh, the man behind Phantoms, Miss Saigon, Cats, Les Mis, has deliberately revisited the book and realized that if you were to have a 70-year-old Fagin and 12-year-old boys in this day and age, it wouldn't have the same effect that it did in 1963 when it first came out. So by making Fagin a bit younger and the boys a little older, what you do get now is you get a plausible scenario where these kids would be enamored by this man and take up a trade of, becoming pickpockets on the street. Furthermore, if you look at it, you mentioned it earlier, this is Lionel Bart's Oliver with an exclamation point. It's not Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist, because that's a much darker, much longer piece. And as you know in the book, it's only the first third that features in the musical. It gets really dark towards the end. We're not doing that, because no matter what you do, you can make Fagin as dark as you like. He still has to say, you see, Oliver, in this life, one thing counts, and then he sings a song. So that's what's beautiful about this.
Yeah.
We're doing Lionel Bart's Oliver, where they break into song because the words aren't enough. And what's so freeing about that is you get to really connect with an audience because everybody knows every single one of those songs.
And Stephen Stead's directing it. I presume you've had several conversations with him already, have an idea of the approach that he is going to take, or is taking on, Lionel Bart with an exclamation mark, Oliver, sort of dictate what you can and can't do with the production of this somewhere else in the world?
Well, there's a wonderful interview where Lionel Bart said actors, always come in and they want to be as dark as possible, but they still have to dance around with Be Back Soon at the end of Act 1. And if you can find a way to marry those two worlds, great. But for the most part, Fagin is that character with a twinkle in his eye all the way through. He's a rogue, of course he is. He's a lovable rogue. But there's something about a proper Cockney knees-up musical. I don't think we need to turn this into Dexter. We don't have to go that dark with this. Because ultimately, I'm still going to review the situation in Act 2. I'm going to pick a pocket or two in Act 1, and in between the audience will have a wonderful time. I don't have to add too much because it's so perfectly written.
Jonathan, thank you very, very much indeed for talking to us this afternoon. That's something to look forward to for the many fans of musicals, and great musicals like this one will be, given the cast and the chorus and so on. That starts on the 12th of December. It's going to be fabulous.